Hi, you're listening to Sharing Values Across Borders, a podcast featuring Christoph Stückelberger as he recounts the first 20 years of the Globethics story.
The first General Secretary of the World Council of Churches was a Dutch, Wizard van Hooft. Mm-hmm. And I have his biography at home with a German title, Die Welt ist meine Gemeinde. The world is my parish. Mm-hmm. So that is profoundly expressing my identity. As a pastor, I was never denying that I'm a pastor, even though I was not working in a parish except now as a vicar a short time. But I was always remembering this title, the world is my parish. That means I'm committed to this global perspective long before globalization became a fashion word. Mm-hmm. And I think the for outsiders, we may have to find the right word, but what does it mean? The mission, the mission-driven impulse was not mission in terms of I convert people to be Christians. That was not my topic. The vision was to go outside the church. That is mission, not to remain with the parish people in a parish. That's what that means, to bring values to the world. I was always more interested in the world than in a specific institution. So what are the possibilities? We can be in an academic institution, we can be whatever, in a development institution, we can be in a research institution. I was in all that, but we have to go out to help people to find. Navigating life is really a very good title. It was not my title. It was, I think, invented by Fadi. But it's close to my intention. Navigating life, helping people, ourselves, strengthening, empowering each other to navigate life based on values and not based on power struggle or on money struggle. It's very simple. The world is very simple. We can decide based on money. We can decide based on power. Does it help my power or not? We can develop based on relations. My mom is saying, or my husband is saying, so relation, or we can base on value. And that's what we want to do. And the second is, and I'm coming back to the geographic in a minute, is bridge making. I'm not a softy mediator. Everybody should be in peace. I'm your mom, and please don't struggle with each other. That's not the one I mean. But really convinced that we should live together with conflicts, of course. That is part of life, but settling conflicts in a constructive way where we can make progress and not kill each other. My PhD was on peace and reconciliation, was the topic, and the role of churches in peacemaking. And the background was a violent struggle in Switzerland. Maybe I opened this bracket because I was in youth work after my studies. And we had 1980 to 82, what we call Jugendunruhen, the youth revolt. It was a kind of, they called it autonomous youth. They wanted autonomous youth center, selbstverwaltet, what do you call it in English? self-determined, a kind of state in state, you know.
Right.
Like in Copenhagen.
Yes.
So, and I was in youth work, director of this youth movement, Christian youth movement, and in the Zurich city, in our own city, we had violent clashes between police and the youth, and over 2 years. And so I was changing my PhD topic to respond to this, to reflect on how can we have peace in such a violent situation. So that is probably, again, I'm just reflecting, and I'm coming back to the geography. My impulse was always, how can we serve society today? I had a PhD topic, a nice topic. I changed, I left the topic. I worked already for 1 year. I left it and said, but the immediate need is now to find a response how to reconcile people in this situation between young and the others. So that was then what I would call peace ethics, peace and reconciliation as my PhD topic. So that means being a bridge maker in conflict situations, or to transform conflicts into constructive conflicts instead of destructive conflicts. Now, that has an influence on when we talk about geography. That means the geographical outreach was based on one, global from the beginning. Second, the global south first. We did not forget about the north, but we said the interest in ethics, they all, and that was my experience, many academic institutions in Europe said, we know the truth, we tell it to the world. And I said, no more. The truth is also in the south, and we come together and discuss on equal level. So if you in Europe think you know what ethics for the world means, then let's start with the other part of the world first. So that was the second, global, and then the south. And the third was, of course, also somehow opportunities. And that where the subjective part came in, because from Bread for the World, Bread for All work, from my teaching in universities across the world, I had some partners already in place. And I approached them, it's a kind of low-level entry, and in other cases, it was a strategic decision. I was never in Russia, but I said Russia is a global player, it has to be on board. So I approached Russians from not the first round, but I think the second round. The first round was, I think, Kenya, Indonesia, India, China came in soon, also for strategic reasons, not because I was very familiar with China, but I said we cannot have a global ethics without having 2/3 or 1/3 of humanity, India and China, they must be there. So this kind of reflection for geographic. And then of course the opportunity issue was where it is easier or more complicated to progress. So, for example, Indonesia was very welcoming. I remember I was in the world, how is it called? Religions for World Peace. There's a Global Association of World Religions.
Religions for Peace?
Religions for Peace. And they had their, I think it was Religions for Peace. No, maybe yes. There was in Australia a world conference. I attended and I met somebody in this city, Siam Tun, from Indonesia, and I said, we have some projects in Indonesia. She was a Muslima, and we developed in Australia the idea to open a Globethics Indonesia. So it was a connection by chance. And I said, it has to be a Muslim. I know only the Christian projects in Indonesia, but then I said, let's start. So that's how it came. So it was a kind of mixture of strategic and opportunity driven. Then some worked well, others did not work well. And for example, we planned this Cameroon. We had a good start in Cameroon, but then we had somebody who, it was at the beginning of Globethics, it was even this direct ethics center project, and then we had a fraud case. A young PhD student escaped with some money to the US, and so we had to stop that. So, you know, it's fluid, but the goal was always to say we need to be present on our continents, even though priority on the south, but Africa, Asia, South America was always on the radar. And then was maybe an additional criteria, in addition to what I said, was in terms of this bridge making, to be present in areas which are where we want to contribute to overcome isolation of or this division. That's how Thailand, for example, we said we important is also to have Buddhists on board, and then we said the Chinese Buddhists are not the first priority. The Indian Buddhists are also not a majority there, so we came to Thai Buddhism, and we knew that Thai Buddhism is open for these questions and so on. So, yeah, these are some of the quite strategic reflections we had, and then, of course, a lot of pragmatic decisions: who accepts to come, where is an institution to host. That's related to what I said about light structures, not to have from the beginning our own legal entity. And that was also based on my former experience. You know, I was also at that time, maybe I can add that, I was also president of ECLOF, that's the Ecumenical Church Loan Fund. That's a bit like Oikocredit, where I was the international president, and we had in 30 developing countries, we had chapters for microcredit. And I have seen the problems when you have a legal entity in a country which are either too autonomous and you have nothing to say in Geneva, and they run into corruption, for example, and you are bound and can do nothing. So I said, never with me. We had a serious issue in India, for example, and there were a legal entity, and I could not bring the bishop to court because I had no means.
Right.
So I said, we need to have a control in Geneva, and at the same time, we need the freedom of the region. So you see, these kind of things were based on hard experience, not just a theoretical concept. So we had a country-by-country approach, and even today, we have not the same model, one fits all. And I was founder of Transparency Switzerland in 1995, And that was another experience. So I was in microfinance, I was in anti-corruption. Microfinance, I was director president 1999 to 2008. Transparency 95 to 2005 around. And in transparency, for example, I've seen how the reputation risk you run with autonomous regional entities.
Mm-hmm.
I was president of Transparency Switzerland when Transparency France had a huge corruption case. You imagine?
Yeah.
So then you reflect, what does it mean for Globethics to avoid that?
Right. Right, exactly.